It is time for After Death Communication with your host, Marin Muter.
Hi everyone, welcome. Today we'll be answering more of your questions, so sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to another wonderful question. Thank you for submitting it. This question has to do again with the veil. So we're kind of answering a lot of veil questions lately. This particular question says, how do we get information from the other side of the veil? Like how is our brain actually communicating to our overarching consciousness? And this is where the theory of non-locality comes into play. So let's say, and we're going to answer this again in a nutshell, just so simply. Let's say that we have two particles, okay? So we have particle A and particle B. And we're going to put particle A in our consciousness, in our soul. And our soul has like trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and infinite particle A's. And our brain, just to give some sort of idea, if we look at just the number of neurons in our brain, there are more neurons than there are stars in our galaxy. So that gives you just a brief idea on what is actually going on in our brain. And we have a receptor, we have a particle B for the particle A's inside this brain, which is absolutely amazing. So when we are filtering information, first thing that's happening is our brain is creating this multi-layered, multi-dimensional filtration system. So we have water coming in, let's say if we're trying to clean water, and it's going through the larger stones, and then it kind of goes through some pebbles, and then it kind of goes through some, finer pebbles, and dust, and then sand, and all this kind of stuff until we get to clean water where it's going to be useful for our body. So not that our information is dirty, we just have lots and lots of information, and our veil works like a filtration system. That's why I used that example. So as this information is coming in, and our brain is putting it through this filtration system, it's saying, okay, yep, this looks familiar. Yep, this is going to be a little more useful. Yep, this is still, it's getting more and more relevant. It's getting more and more relevant until it's nice and pure. And it comes in to this life experience and helps us create it here. So what's happening though, is that particle A that's out here is communicating with particle B instantaneously. And particle B is directly connected to particle A. Particle A and particle B are essentially the same. So another good example for that one is put tin cans on the end of a rope. And what you're saying, and this one is being heard by this one, what you're saying, and this one is being heard by this one. But not only heard, it's like literally experiencing the same thing. So whatever's happening on this one is happening on this one. If I have sticky honey hands holding this tin can, then I have sticky honey hands being held on the other one. So they know exactly what's happening with each other at the exact same time. So that's how this information is coming to and from. So we've got particle A that has this information, and we have particle B that has access to exactly what's happening with particle A, vice versa. If that information, as it's coming through instantaneously, is relevant to this life here, it's going to be translated and brought in. If it's not, if it goes through that filtration system, what is happening is that line of communication is muted. It doesn't mean that line of communication is broken. It just means that line of communication is muted. It is quieted because it's not relevant to this life experience here. So that's how it's working. I hope that helped explain it a little bit. And we will move on to follow-up questions, I am sure. I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you for joining me.